to our next bracket. This is Shift Clique versus Mutallica. And I'm not sure. I think actually we'll go with Snibbles versus Falco. Snibbles is about my rank. So we'll start there. All right. Oh, I've never heard of these players. Let's do this one. I've never heard of these players, so maybe these are like new players. All right. So we're gonna instead of doing Snibbles, we're gonna do T-Dawq versus Oivalfez. I hope I'm saying these. Tuba. Okay, Tuba and Oivalfez. So this is going to be a ZVP. And it should be exciting. All right. Zerg versus Protoss. This is as a new player learning Protoss, this is probably the most nerve-wracking matchup. I got the right game. Okay, so we got a split here. Good split. That's a critical starting point. Cool, so I like what I'm seeing. I think maybe just go instead of, again, a small optimization, instead of going for this patch, maybe go for this patch here. So you have these 4 and then like these 2, but you know. I'm liking what I'm seeing. So we have a gateway expand. This should be interesting. Gate expand is really good at applying pressure early and forcing Zerg to choose between making drones or making lings or making sunkens. So, but I'm not a fan of this building placement. This pylon is just waiting to be sniped by Hydralisks. If you build, okay, so if you try and keep your wall like kind of here, if you build your pylon slightly back, you can still build like your forge here and your gateway here, for example. Or you know, you build this pylon slightly back here, you could probably still build a forge here and a gateway here and then have room in the middle to walk through. So just, you know, and doing that, having the pylon further back will make it harder to snipe. It's just comments, advice. You know, I've played a lot of games. You know, I haven't played like 1,000 games, but I've played a lot, And I've done stupid stuff like put my pylon on the front and have it get sniped, so I'm speaking from experience. Putting it in the back a little bit is better. This is good though. We have a good amount of lings. We could be aggressive with them, but we're not going to. And we're getting, whoops, sorry. I kicked my cord there. Getting a third hatch as well. So this is just a nice economic position, getting our hatches, droning up. You know, we know the Protoss is going to be sitting here. Although they have Zealots, they could come in and try and attack with Zealots. But they aren't. Probably would want to throw some Sunkens down. Like maybe like a sunken colony and like here in between these hatcheries, like put a sunken in here. Mess with some of the pathing. Maybe put a sunken behind this hatchery, so you know it's kind of protected, and Zealots have to go around the hatchery. Just some ideas. I've also seen Zerg players. This may not be the map to do it, but I've also seen Zerg players put 2 Sunkens right here at the ramp as well. But I haven't seen it on this map. This may not be the map to do that. This is good timing. So we have our Citadel and our legs going, and we just started our archives at 6 minutes. 6-minute archives is great. And we're still building Zealots. I don't know if we built Sayer. I can't tell. This might be a Sayerless build. Now, there are no mutas this game so far. So, we don't need to put a photon cannon here. And we want to definitely have at least 2 up here. Like, I would say at this phase of the game, we definitely want 2 cannons here at the front. If everything's quiet and there's no threat, and you have, you know, you haven't confirmed there's any Hydra busts and stuff, and you know you're feeling pretty good about your macro and your army comp, max 3 cannons here, max. But yeah, at this point we definitely want at least 2 at the front. So these cannons back here are kind of not necessary, and you know. But it's all right, you know. I mean, I understand, you know, I've lost. You lose enough games to mutas, you just kind of. You definitely want to just like, kind of just preventively put cannons in your at your mineral fields. Zerg, meanwhile, is on 4 hatches. And, oh wow, that's the potentially 3 sunken colonies. That's a lot. They're on 4 hatches. They're going Hydras, and they're getting +1/+1. I can't tell if they have Hydra speed. Looks like they have Hydra speed. But they aren't moving across the map yet. They have enough Hydras at home that I think they can hold these Zealots. But I think the Protoss is going to be a little bit surprised to find all these Hydras here, considering they haven't done any scouting. Oh, nice. We have some High Templars with this army. This is interesting. Yeah, sure. Let's just... Yeah. That clump looks good. Yeah, let's just form that. Oh, that looks good too. Yeah, let's just form that clump as well. Looks good. I'll take that clump also. Nice storms. I like this. Yeah, okay, so now we have the sucket colonies coming up. So this is better. Oh, can we get a Templar kill? That's... Oh, yes! That's one less Templar on the field. So now we have... So now, ideally, we want to be throwing in +1 armor, especially now that we know there's Hydras. Armor scales better than like armor just does better versus Hydras, and plus it's also kind of a normal thing in this matchup. You know, get +1 attack and then put 2 more upgrades into armor. So yeah, definitely are missing the armor upgrade. But otherwise, oh yeah, and these are +1/+1 Hydras, so they're going to be a little bit harder to kill. But the army comp, particularly with the storms, has been very effective. That said, we do have Hydralisks moving over across the map, and these Stormy Boys. Oh, okay. Wasn't quite ready for that, but nice storms nonetheless. Yeah, I feel like DTs are gonna... Well, yeah, this isn't very... No. This Overlord could probably still spot them going down the ramp. I feel like the DTs are not going to get a whole lot of productivity out of this match. What we really need is we need Dragoons, we need Observers, and once we start getting bases up to 4 bases, we need to start going up to like Archons and Reavers and stuff. Although, there's no Overlord here. Probably Reavers, I would say. So now the Lurkers are coming across the field with the Hydra army, and I feel like once this gets here, this is enough supply that this could just totally wreak havoc on the Protoss. Once this gets here, this could be trouble. Nice storm. Yeah, clumps of Hydras are perfect storm targets. So nice job clearing that out. There are more on the way. Oh man, looks like he was trying to get a storm off of it. Looks like we finally lose the third base. Yeah, honestly, I think this would be a better third. Because at least the Zerg has to push up this high ground ramp here. Throw some cannons on that ramp. And some Templar. Much more defensible. What do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the macro. We have the gateways. We do not need DTs. We need Dragoons. Especially now that the Zerg is bringing Overlords with their army. Although this is... I say that, and then... Oh, there they are. There's the Overlords. Oh my god. Nice storm. Oh my gosh, it looks like this is just going to be... I don't know. It's like there's just too many Hydras here. Another Templar sniped. Oh, get these lurkers finished. Oh my gosh, they actually break the Hydras. Can he get an observer on this? That's crazy. Meanwhile, we have tons of larvae. Oh man, just make Hydra. Make the Hydra. Yes. Just make them and rally them. GG. Zerg takes game 1. Hard matchup. That's a hard matchup to start off with, that's for sure. It is easily the most... If you've played Protoss, and if you're just starting to play Protoss and you're just learning the game, this is easily the most overwhelming matchup you're ever going to play. So, Let's go in. Game 2 on Butter. Not the best split, but you know what? It's okay. It's better to have a not great split than to not split at all. So it's all right. I like the fact that we're splitting workers. Yeah, I definitely think that game, especially once you saw the lurkers come out, ranged goons and observers totally trample on lurkers. Not only that, but if you have good macro and you have enough goons, they can actually fight hydras too. People say that goons suck versus hydras, but they only suck if Zerg has like a crazy macro engine going. But that game, the Storm, we were killing clumps of hydras. So the Zerg was just sending out like a control group of hydras at a time. And in that situation, goons are great. Goons can actually like fight hydras a little bit. They're not perfect, but they're not terrible. They're better than people think they are. But yeah, definitely versus lurker, we definitely want observers with range goons. Yeah, observers and range goons for sure. I think that was what we were missing, and we had too much DTs. DTs in general are not an army attacking unit. They're a harassment unit, and they're a map control unit. They're, DTs are there to kill unprotected worker lines and try to keep Zerg from taking 3rd and 4th bases, depending on how early you get them. So that's kind of what DTs do in this matchup. They don't really go in and attack. Four lanes, get the probe scout. It's like a pretty I like that we're building the second hatch here at the 3rd. It's kind of a neat sneaky thing. I hope with this core we're going to go up to Corsairs. I feel like Sayerless last game and no scouting was kind of unfortunate. We were blind the whole game. Oh, we're not. We're going DTs. Okay. So it looks like Zerg is going to go back into this kind of you know, this kind of 4-hatch, 3-base Hydra build like they did last game. And Protoss, it looks like, is going to be going for... going to be getting range. I mean, sorry, going to be getting legs. And they should be getting their archives shortly. I think it's kind of a mistake to go Sayer. Well, it's not necessarily a mistake to go Sayerless. I think it's a mistake to go Sayerless and play a passive defensive game like this, because you have no intel. You have no idea what the Zerg is doing, and you have no idea what you're preparing for. So I think that I don't know. I don't really know. I almost feel like if I'm not going to go Sayerless, then I would treat this like a PvT and try to throw observers around and just see what's going on. But even then, there's enough overlords around that the Hydras can snipe the observers. So Corsairs are definitely they move faster and they'll live longer. So I don't know. I feel like definitely not building a Corsair and not knowing what the Zerg is doing is a detriment to a passive game. Generally, in my experience, if you do go Sayerless, you want to pair it with some sort of aggression if you're going to go no Corsair. Like, you know, like weird aggression. So, you know, it's okay to go Sayerless, but, you know, in my experience, there's a trade-off, right? If you play a passive game and you don't build any Corsairs for scouting, you are in the dark the whole game, and you are playing from a disadvantage. But if you make like a small army and attack at a certain time and you don't have Corsairs, then it's kind of, you know, it's kind of okay. Those kinds of plays are a little bit of a gamble. You're kind of like playing the odds of what the Zerg could be doing, but they work sometimes. So there's definitely a trade-off. Although, I don't know, DTs, I mean, against the Zerg where their overlords are out of position and they're slow to react, there we go. So we have a DT coming in here into the third base. Oh man, I was hoping he was going to kill the third base drones. Yeah, against a Zerg that's slow to respond, DTs are good. You know? Oh my gosh. No, this base would have been better. Look at that. There's no overlord there. There's free drone kills. Imagine all the drones that could have died. Just imagine. Well, looks like Zerg is planning on getting Defiler, I guess. Starting to move up to Defiler. There's more DT. Oh yes, is this unprotected? No, it's not. Oh darn, we missed our window. Yeah, once you telegraph that you're building DTs, they're gonna, they're gonna put overlords at vulnerable spots. Darn, missed it. So nice job. We see, we are very well defensed against DTs, but this is a perfect opportunity to run zealots in here. So I like the call to just move some stuff in here, kill some stuff. Look what this accomplished, if nothing else. 0 drones mining. Definitely need, okay, so you definitely, we established last game, we definitely want to have at least 2. No more than 3 if we're feeling safe. If we see hydras on the map and we're afraid they're going to come in and attack us, we want at least 4 cannons. At least 4 minimum, and that's like with good army on the map. So we definitely need more cannons to hold these hydras. Yep. GG. The all too familiar, oh, the hydras come and the game's over. GG, well played indeed. All right. Just some thoughts there. I definitely think in this matchup, definitely want to get the Corsair before teching up the Templar, or at least get the Stargate before teching up the Templar. So yeah, that's something in PvZ. So in all of the matchups, having scouting info is everything. Usually in the other 2 matchups, in your PvP and your PvT, you get your scouting intel from observers. But in this matchup, because you have overlords, because the Zerg has overlords, observers aren't really that good. So that's why we use we scout early with Corsairs instead. Yeah. In all Protoss matchups, scouting is critical. Okay, having vision of the opponent's bases, their tech, their build, and their army position, being able to see all that is crucial. So, when you go a game without any Sayers and you aren't getting info from the other side, you're really playing in an uncomfortable spot. Yeah, so just kind of thoughts on that one. All right, now we're going into Snibbles. Oh, this is week 2. This is not week 6, that's why. Okay, this is week 2, so it's a different set of maps. So yeah, Dominator is the first one. I'm a dunce. Okay. So our this is on Dominator. This is the 11 o'clock position, and this is our Blue Zerg Gravity Blast. And our red Terran in the 3 o'clock position. It is Odam, also known as Odam, also known as Snibbles. Thank you to the chat for stopping in. It's been kind of quiet, but you know, y'all have been chatting a little bit. Champion, Crimson Joe, Mini Renak, Shimmer. Thank y'all for stopping by and saying hello. Why is this Overlord going over here? It should be going over here. I don't know. Oh, maybe he's going to try and expand here. That would be cool. Alright. We got a 15cc coming out of the Terran, which is basically like an 18cc, except you know, delay the Marine. I'm curious if Terran is going to go into a factory build. And go into Goliaths. And we've got a so this was a overpool opening, and we've got of course we got our natural hatch, and we've got an in-base macro hatch as well for the Zerg. Looks very much like a Mutaplay to me. I've seen Mutaplays that do this, and it looks very Muta-y. I like the wall here though. Now that said, if it is mutas, there's not a lot mining here, and there's certainly no gas. And there's no layer, so. Kind of a long ways off. Factory is just about to finish. I'm sorry, Academy. And now a factory goes down. So maybe we are going to see some sort of a Goliath play. Goliath or Terran, or tank play. Not Terran. This is Terran. Alright. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's not enough barracks to warrant a tank. And I say that and another barrack starts. Alright. Alright, so it is in fact going to be Hydras. And lots of them. And lurkers. Alright. I love watching lurkers in a ZVT. I absolutely love seeing lurkers. I think we need more. I think the world needs more lurkers. Okay. And the lurkers are done. They should be going on the way. Now there are tanks here and there is a turret. And there are scans. So this is not a sure thing. But this is a lot of units. The supply is even right now. The supply is even. And the Zerg is down almost 10 workers. That tells you how big this army is. I like the Terran's position though. If we can siege up some more of these tanks and just hold on to our scans. Look at that. We have 150 energy here and 100 energy. Just hold on to our scans and siege up some more tanks. I think we got a shot here. This is the most insane splash damage in the game. Look at that, 70. 2 tank volleys and these things are gone. Oh, I like this. Look at that. Taking 2 sneaky ninja expos in the other main. And we have lurkers here on this ramp. And an overlord here. We have an overlord here. Zerg has so much vision of the map right now. And has 2 hidden bases coming up. This is wild. This is like the kind of stuff that just... Yeah, you definitely want to pull... You definitely want the tanks out before you throw Marines up there. We'll see what happens. Oh man. Oh, it looks like the tanks took just a little too long to siege up. They are going though, and they are pushing the army back, but reinforcements are inbound. Some more Hydras. And a lot of these Marines are dead. This Marine count was crazy a minute ago. But the tanks, again, this is the most powerful splash in the game. Look at that. So the tanks just totally cleared that incoming, the incoming Hydras, and I do think the Terran is safe for now. So good call to just keep building tanks and keep building out bio. So Terran is now they've successfully held their little slice of the pizza pie here. But they're not out of the woods yet. There are still 2 hidden bases down here. So Zerg's economy right now, Zerg is ahead in workers. Yeah, I would imagine Zerg's gonna go to Hive and start. Yeah, so they started Carapace, they're going to Hive. So I imagine they're gonna go to Ultras and just do this crazy Ultra switch. And once these Ultralisks come out, the Queen's Nest is finishing, which means that the Hive is going to start. So there's still a few more minutes left. Terran does have a window here, and they do have, they definitely have, I would say, the bigger unit composition, but Zerg units are crazy efficient. Like, every unit they make is crazy efficient. Take your pick. The Zergling, the Hydra, the Lurker, the Muta. It's like, for the amount of money and supply you spend on them, you get so much value out of these units. It's crazy. So all that is to say is that even though the supplies look pretty even, or like right now Zerg is down a little bit and Terran has the bigger army, yeah, all you need is Lurkers on top of Marines, and then they're done. So, you know, Zerg is trying to get some damage in, but in the meantime, all they really need to do, the Ultralisk Cavern should be on the way. It should be starting any second now. Once we get our army in line. Zerg basically just has to delay this push long enough to get Ultralisks. Oh, ooh, Spire and Defiler Mound. Guardians? Or is it just Mutalisks? Nice job denying the bases. Again, had overlords all around here, was able to see everything. And finally, so yeah, if this Zergling force can get a good flank and get a good angle on these Or you can just get on top of the siege tank. Yeah. The stim is strong with this one. I don't think that was the best executed, but then again, I don't know how you could have done better, because just this many stim marines. Now the push is knocking on the front door, and so far there's still only Ling Lurker. Is Snibbles gonna get a win out of this? This is great. Yeah, so the natural is dead, and he's now trying to kill... Oh my gosh, that's brutal. Just killing the overlords. He has to detect these bases, though. Zerg does have 2 hidden bases that he's not aware of, so if this falls and these go undetected, this game is still far from over. And I've totally been in positions like this too, where you're pushing in, you have a good killing blow, this should be a win, and then, oh my goodness, you've had these bases down here. So he's scanning around the map. I'm guessing he's scanning these mains here. Has to, because he knows that he was denied here and here, right? Huge, that nice hold, but that did so much damage. I think that was mostly the splash damage, but tried to run some hydras in by the look of it, but nice hold there from Snibbles. Yeah, there's no sense in trying to burrow lurkers on top of underneath vessels. GG, well played indeed. All right. On to game number 2. Well done. Good effort. I liked the hidden bases. I liked he had a chunk of lings there that he was trying to get a good angle off of, and I liked some of the attack ideas and the tactics. The execution was, yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's tier 3, but yeah, it's pretty good. That was a good game. GG's all around. In the top left, sorry, in the top right, our red Terran. It is Snibbles, also known as Odam, also known as Odam. And in the bottom right, our blue Zerg. It is Gravity Blast. I forget who the player is. Like we have a probably gonna be a hatch first. Oh no, we have an overpool out of Gravity Blast. I don't dislike overpool. I really don't. I've said it many times. I don't dislike it. Overpool gets a slightly later, like it gets about a 15-second, I think, later hatchery than a hatch first does. But it also gets a 10 seconds faster hatchery than a 9-pool does. So it's like right in the middle. It's like right in the middle of safe and economical, which is why I like it. It's right down the middle. Terran walling in. So far, probably looking to do another 15 CC, I would guess. Overpool with 8 lings is very nice. It's a nice nice deadly early skirmish. I do think that the Sim City is going to hold it. Yeah, I do think this is going to hold it with all the SCVs and the bio, but and the Sim City, but so this isn't going to get much done, but you know what you can also do with 8 lings? You can scout the whole map with 8 lings and burrow them. And make it really annoying. You can burrow your lings right here so that you can't build on them without detecting them. Like spider mines. You can make it really annoying. So all in all, I didn't dislike this opening. I liked going for the 8 Zerglings. Then I like getting the macro hatchery as a follow-up and going up into lair. All this I like. So Terran going up to factory. I think they're probably going to do what they did last game, where they they're going to get the tank macro going before they start adding in bio. But yeah, this is a nice defensive opening from Terran. And I think they're going to be I think they're going to be in an okay spot. Zerg is once again finishing Hydralisks, and it looks like going for Lurkers. They kind of have the same build where they're doing this kind of like 2 base, 3 hatch Lurker. I know technically it's not 2 base. It's technically 2 hatch, but there's also a macro hatch, so I have to find a way to I have to find a way to verbalize accounting for the macro hatch while on 2 mining hatches. We got the patrolling marines, kind of, you know, just like staying on this end of the map. And hydras are out, and so we have some out, and they're being built. Terran, meanwhile, is kind of, you know, they've started their tanks. They're starting to fill in their bio. And they should have starport. Either they're starting starport or it's, yeah, they should be starting starport shortly. Of course, getting comsats. So can Zerg actually set up a contain? You know, if they can spread some lurkers up on this high ground and hold and keep the Terran from actually moving down towards the base, that's the start. That's kind of like the beginning. But the real big question is, can they actually contain the Terran on 2 base? I feel like they were started a little bit later this game, but maybe I'm wrong. I know the last game went a little long, but I feel like the science the starport was started a little bit later, but yeah. Anyway, we have vessels on the way. The starport is finishing, but we still have a little bit of ways to go before we get there. We still got to finish a science facility and an add-on. So probably at about the 12-minute mark, we'll start seeing vessels, I would say. Maybe the 12:30 mark. Until then, we have about 2 minutes-ish where we're going to be vulnerable to lurkers, unfortunately. And Zerg is, I say this because Zerg is rallying them all across the map. If they can prevent Terran from moving out here into any of these critical angles, they'll, but nice scan. Did scan and did pick off one, but there's more coming. That's the problem with once a contain gets established, you have to break it, otherwise it just gets worse. And so we also have two more hidden hatches, sneaky ninja hatches. can these lurkers actually... So nice. I love the execution of focusing down the tank with the Zerglings before it can actually get any meaningful shots off on these lurkers. Once again, the contain is still very real. It is unbroken. And with 4 more lurkers coming in, it's only going to get worse. Hive is on the way. Finally, vessels are out, so we can start, you know, breaking out and gently pushing out of this, getting some wiggle room. Some elbow room. Finally, Terran is starting to break out of this contain, but Zerg has 4 bases. 3 of them are gas bases. And Zerg is just ready to go up to Hive. And once Zerg kind of opens up Hive tech and starts getting this 4th base here mining gas, they're just starting to put a geyser on it now. 4 gas bases and Hive tech, that's all you need for Ultralisks. So Zerg really just needs to defend and hold out long enough for the Ultras to get there. It is nice that they're keeping Terran off of 3rd base for so long and keeping them pinned, but now that vessels are out and the Terran is kind of methodically pushing out, it's kind of a matter of time, right? Like they'll break all this. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, meanwhile, Zerg should take advantage of the time and start, you know, getting this kind of this late game scary army. And I think we're gonna see that. In a moment. I'm not sure if it's going to be Ultralisks or if it's going to be like what we saw last time where it's some sort of a Spire and Defiler play. But I definitely think getting these armored Ultras on these tanks is just brutal. Very sneaky going around the army. Trying to really prevent this 3rd command center from landing here. Yep, and spotted them. So, okay, so we're gonna have cracklings, and currently they're 1 armor, 0 attack cracklings. So, presumably, you know, once this Evo chamber gets started, I hope we're gonna start upgrading our cracklings. Are these upgraded at all? No. Well, the Marines are upgraded, but the tanks aren't. This does look scary, but there's also a lot of lurkers, and there's still plenty of production out here on the left side of the map to build from. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna go for 3-3 cracklings. Nice job with the Zerg picking off the 3rd base. Still keeping the Terran pinned out on 2 bases. They are almost mined out of the main, and they are bleeding resources out of the natural. So, now, that said, the Terran has a huge unspent bank. So, it's not like they'd be out of the game immediately. But long term, Zerg is in a much better position with 4 mining bases still. Also worth noting that the Zerg is up workers, and up supply. There is still a huge supply of cracklings and lurkers waiting down here, by the way. And Yeah, it looks like there's another supply of lurkers and cracklings being made over here on the left side. For how much Snibbles has played a great defensive game and has managed to muscle their way out of a contain, I don't. I feel like so these cracklings are just going to continue to be upgraded, right? They're already what, like 2 armor, 1 attack. They're ideally just going to continue to be upgraded, so they're just going to get stronger and stronger. There are few things in this game that are more efficient at destroying anything than 3/3 cracklings. So they're like a third of the way there. I mean, the upgrades do even out with attack and armor, but look at this army that is just flooding up the map here. These cracklings are just getting on top of the tanks. And a 5th base just finishes for the Zerg. And I would presume are they looking to take more? Terran is trying to float a CC down here, but it is just not working. They are completely denied. They are mined out. They could still theoretically spend their money. I mean, they have 6,000 minerals. So it's, and 4,000 gas, so it's, or sorry, 5,800 minerals and 4,800 gas. They have a lot of money. So it's not like they can't spend it, but there's also the factor of you have to wait for that army to be functional. And if you have a Zerg denying your 3rd base and knocking on your door, yeah. GG. Alright. Very, so it's tied 1-1. Who's gonna take the 3rd game? Snibbles versus Falco, also known as Oh Damn versus Gravity Blast. Alright, game 3. This one we are going on to none other than every Terran's favorite 2-player map, Eclipse. So this is a classic map, and kind of an interesting map. There are, I mean, obviously it's a 2-player, it's a cross spawn. One of the cool things about Eclipse is these 2 different attack paths. So there's like the high ground attack path here with these 2 hills on either side of a person's territory. And there's also this alternate flat attack path that you know, you can like route your army here and either in here or up around here, depending on what you need to do to hit these bases. So there's 2 different ways you can route your army well, sorry, 3 different ways. There's 3 different main ways. There's the 2 hills up the middle. There's the big way around the top side, and then there's another way around the bottom side as well. And then of course you have your high ground bases. This kind of dead ends into 2 isolated bases, but these high ground bases over here eventually wind their way down into this main. And there's also kind of a nice little corner base here. One thing to note about this map that I think is interesting, I've looked at this map 80 million times and I just now noticed it, is that it's not symmetrical. Okay? If it were symmetrical, there would be another base here where there's this little lake, this little body of water here. So this is not a symmetrical map. There are actually more bases on the left-hand side of the map than there are on the right-hand side of the map. Just another fun little thing to note. All right. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of comments and speculation and analysis I can go into with the different topography and what that means for engagements and stuff. But for right now, just for routing your armies, you know, it's good to just know the attack path and know the topography changes. I mean, you know, and just kind of experiment. Now, the hills on Eclipse are big enough that you could stage an army there and try and defend your base if you suspect that there's going to be attack coming from the other hill. The problem is that if you stage your army on a hill, you're leaving yourself open to other attack angles because there's other ways you can route an army around to the natural. So that's kind of the tricky thing here. It's very tempting to stage your army on a hill because high ground and defender's advantage in this game are great. They're a real thing and they're great. But it's in this map, because of the different ways you can route your armies, kind of not the best idea always to stage your army on those hills. So the multiple different paths of attack in this map are really kind of a fun thing to get used to when you're coordinating engagements and fights and stuff. All right. So Zerg once again is going for Overpool, and they're starting their hatchery at a fairly reasonable time. Excuse me. It's 10 o'clock my time. It is. I am pushing my limits tonight. All right. And Terran, meanwhile, it looks like went 15 CC. So we have 6 lings this time. I actually like I like the idea of making 8. And if you can't break the Terran defense, just send those lings around the map, research burrow, and burrow them. There, now you have vision of all the bases. So one thing I love about Zerg is that you could just like research burrow, and your lings are like, in addition to being one of the best attacking units in the game, they're also one of the best scouting units in the game. Terran is starting the barracks before the factory this time. This is looking very much more like a typical game. Okay, so we're going in for a 4 racks, I guess? Maybe a 5 racks? So this is a map where I like the sunken colony placement here, right? This is just a nice solid wall, but so in our ZVP I mentioned that sometimes Zergs will block their ramp with will put sunken colonies in front of the ramp. This is a map where they might try and do that, right? So you might put maybe 1 or 2 here. But this is for this matchup. This is a very nice. It's a very nice sunken wall. So I like that we're building more racks early and we're just like spending money on Marines. Get enough Marines and we could just totally bust through this. Just stim and bust. Did we get layer yet? We did. Okay. I'm not sure if we upgraded a lurker. Okay, we did upgrade lurker. We were just waiting on getting a good chunk of hydras to morph. Definitely want to mix in some medics as well, which we're doing. But I like the ideas here out of Snibbles. If we could get some siege tanks and, you know, try and put some pressure here at the Zerg natural, that would be ideal. The problem is I don't think we're going to do anything. I mean, I don't think we're going to... We don't have ComSat, and we don't have vessels out yet, so I don't think we're going to be able to do anything about these lurkers here. I think that all that we can do is just hold the high ground and wait for vessels. Um, See, I think once we get vessels out, we're gonna start. I think we're gonna be able to actually like apply some pressure on the Zerg once the vessels start coming out. So it does take out the tank, but enough scans to actually stim and fight this off. And apparently there's also enough stim to kill these Zerglings too. So does hold. The problem is he doesn't have much reinforcements right now. One of the benefits of macro, if you just always kind of go back to your base and make sure your production's going, is that once your army dies, you'll have reinforcements already done, already ready, waiting. So that's why it's such a strong skill to have, and why like one of the reasons why we stress it very much at the lower levels. The Terran is not going to be able to quite break into the natural yet, but if Terran can actually take out either or both of these high ground bases, that would be huge, because Zerg's entire strategy relies on having these mining bases and fortifying them enough to where they can start building hatcheries and stuff here. So if Terran can take either or both of them out, it would be big. It would be absolutely big. And this particular base is very vulnerable. This one is less vulnerable because of lurkers. Actually, but you know, it's just two lurkers. If there were one or two sunken colonies up here as well, like, this would just be impossible to break up. So with enough scans and enough siege tanks, you might be able to break this. But Zerg's entire strategy is built around kind of sneaking out these two bases and droning up. So yeah, so again, nothing's blinking. Wow. Look at this bust, man. This is nuts. There was just so many lurkers here and not enough tanks or anything. I think these Marines, yeah, this army was way out of position, but because it was trying to move out across the map. But I don't think Terran has enough tanks to stop this. Yeah, this is just too much. Look at the reinforcements coming. This is just way too much macro. So, really, the key this entire series has been these two bases. You know, the moment you let these two bases go unchallenged, you're just gonna get steamrolled. I mean, wow, crackling's right on top of the buildings. GG. There's that good old Zerg macro. Alright, well done. That was tough. That was tough. It's a tough series. Very well done to both players, Snibbles and Falco. I feel like you know, Falco clearly a very competent macro Zerg. I think if I were Falco, I would look into Aaron. Aaron is a T2. He's now a T2 Zerg, and he has some pretty slippery builds that involve just just littering the whole map with hatcheries, and also like macroing and stuff. So I would if you can watch Aaron's games, watch his Erneanok, I think is his name. He hosts CSL, but he's also in CPL as well. Anyway, check out any of Aaron's games if you can, and just watch him play. And just watch the logic of his games. It's wild. Certainly, like I would definitely. I think Falco would be very interested in those games for sure. Snibbles. That game was unfortunate. Honestly, that was lost because of Army being out of position, and the Army was being out of position because the game was quiet and we were trying to make something happen. So, you know, that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate loss. It happens, but I think definitely for Snibbles, what I would with this particular build, because Falco did the same build all game. All series, he did the same exact build. So I would say, you know, if you see a build like this, you definitely want to be on the lookout for hidden hatcheries on the base, on the map, because in this entire series, his Falco's strategy hinged on hiding these two hatcheries sufficiently enough to where he can just drone on 4 base. And then once he drones up, he just builds macro hatcheries and just produces for days. So, yeah, his entire build is hinged on those 2 additional hatcheries. So if you can like target them down and take them out, before they get up and running, you know, you've just put a monkey wrench in this whole machine right there. So this particular series, I don't know too much about these builds and these matchups to know that like what's typical and what's not. I'm not very well practiced with Terran yet, but you know, tier 3 is not the tier where you see like weird stuff all the time, especially when it's like very like systematic and consistent like that. So you know, this might be a somewhat safe standard way to play for Zerg. And so if it is a standard build that we saw out of Falco, I would definitely look into trying to find a way. If I'm Snibbles, I would look into trying to find a way to really exterminate those 2 hatcheries. Exterminate the 3rd and 4th bases as soon as possible, because if they complete and he's allowed to drone up, he's just gonna have this insane Zerg macro machine, which is entirely what that build was. So that's kind of my takeaway from that series. You know, you're on a timer. Don't let those hatcheries get droned up, right? And you know, for Falco, yeah, definitely look into some of Aaron's builds, because Aaron does stuff like that. I'm suggesting Aaron because Aaron's playstyle is very similar to this, where he'll get a certain number of hatcheries up, and then he'll macro like crazy and take the map. So, you know, Aaron does strats and builds like this. So I would definitely, if I were Falco, I would definitely watch Aaron play and see what he does, and maybe take some notes if you feel like it's worth it. If you're not worth it because he's a good player, that didn't come out right, but if you feel like it's beneficial to you, you know, maybe take some notes from Aaron. It's definitely worth it to watch him because he's great. Okay, so last series of the night, we're going into a ZVP, a PVZ. Now that I'm done recapping and, you know, putting my thoughts out there. So we got one more series, and then we're going to be done for the night, guys. All right. Here we go. Okay. In the 3 o'clock position, our red Zerg, it is Bentley. This is on Dominator. And in the I'm calling it the 6:30 position, even though there's no such thing as a 6:30 hour hand. It's kind of halfway between 6 and 7. In the 6:30 position, it is Thundersteel, our blue Protoss, on Dominator. And so it's very normal to see, you know, a pylon, a forward pylon for Protoss, and then either a forge or a gate. You know, for Zerg, probably, I would guess, probably an overpool. That is like the safest build to do in this matchup. Yep, so there's an overpool. You can do a 12 hatch in a ZVP, but it's kind of risky when you know that Protoss has forge openings up their sleeve and can build cannons very early. So a 12 hatch build is kind of it's kind of a risk in this matchup. Definitely overpool is, I would say, the safest thing to do. Another one though, I've been shouting out to overpool all night, but 9 pool is also really good. I've seen what I've seen out of 9 pool is more aggressive openers, but the 9 pool aggressive openers are really good, and they're not easy. Like if you open 9 pool and you build 6 lings, there's kind of a standard way to defend that against as Protoss. But if you do something crazy like you 9 pool and you expand on time and then you build like a total of like 10 lings and you attack, something crazy like that, because you can do a similar attack with overpool as well. If you do something crazy like that where you just have a really chonky amount of lings early on, these kind of ling aggro builds can be really good. So, and in fact, Hawk has an F to S series for Zerg, and I think he does 9 pool openers the whole game, the whole thing, if I recall correctly. So 9 pool is definitely a great build too, but I feel like 12 hatch is the riskiest of all of them in this matchup because Protoss can build forge and build cannons early, and with 12 pool, your spawning pool starts late. So if the Protoss decides to cannon rush your natural nexus, you're not going to have lings out for ages. That is the problem that is the risk with overpool. It's not a bad opener if you can get away with it, but it's a risky opener. So there's something to keep in mind for if you're learning Zerg. Definitely overpool and 9 pool I would say are much better. With overpool being the most middle of the road build. It's like it does everything. It gets lings and it gets a timely expansion for good economy. It does everything. So, yeah. That's my spiel on that. My limited knowledge of Zerg. This is interesting wall. This is very interesting. This is very unconventional. As someone who does unconventional stuff every once in a while in this matchup, that's not a bad thing. But usually when you do if you're going to do a weird wall like this, you want to have a reason for it. Otherwise, just stay safe and wall like normal, right? Don't leave your cans up to unnecessary exposure, right? Don't leave 80 million access points free for Zerglings, right? Just, yeah. If you're going to do a weird wall, do it with a good reason. That right there is, if you're going to do something different, do it for a reason. That is the overall takeaway that I want you to get from that feedback right there. If you're going to do something weird and it's not for a reason or for a good reason, then just play it safe and do the normal thing. Especially at this level where you're trying to learn the game. So this looks like a very this looks like a 5-hatch Hydra build. I didn't quite see the timing of this layer and this. This feels like this is a little you know, the timing's not perfect, but the concept of the build is there. So once this layer, once this hatch finishes and we get some drones, you know, we're gonna just throw down a macro cycle of Hydras and move right on in. Storm is being researched, which is good. We got our contingent of zealots. Is that 9? It's 8. Okay, so it's 8 zealots, so it's one more, but it's still okay. This is not a bad move. Ideally, you want this to hit the 3rd. So if you can scout where the 3rd is, you generally want this to hit the 3rd base if you can. Also, try not to lose zealots. So good job pulling it back, seeing all those Hydras. I don't see a 3rd anywhere. You know, just keep your zealots alive. We've got lots of Hydras now. So they're all like now starting to like kind of build and morph and rally. And yeah, we have some Overlords coming as well, but this is kind of like what you expect to see with 5-hatch Hydra. Just a lot of Hydras on the map. Oh, I don't know if he's going to get this 3rd base in time. That's a lot of zealots, though. That's a lot of speed lots. So again, because we went over this, touched on this in the last ZVP. Generally, if you're the general upgrade sequence in ZVP is +1 attack. Just so you have a little bit of extra firepower against Zerglings and whatnot. Obviously, you'll have some firepower against unupgraded Hydras as well, or Hydras with no armor. But +1 attack, and then +1 armor, +2 armor. That is generally the upgrade sequence in this matchup. So you can do +2 attack and then +1 armor. That was, as far as I know, that was like an older way to play. But the current way to play is +1 attack, +1 armor, +2 armor. Because the reason for that is because a lot of modern play hinges on Hydralisks, and Protoss ground armor scales very well against Hydralisks. So your zealots are going to stay alive longer. Also we need more cannons and a wall, and you know we don't need our cannons exposed. So yeah, this is the fact that this is getting so out of control. I mean, it's already out of control with a wall, but this is why it's so important to wall. And also to know kind of when to build cannons and how many to make is another thing to do. If you see Hydras coming and you know they're going to be rallying toward you, you want at least 4 cannons. Ideally, if you want to actually hold busts, you want 6 to 8 cannons. You know, depending on your unit count and stuff, and how much the Zerg is investing in Hydras. So, it's just a general concept. GG. Very well executed game 1. You know, PVZ, man, that's PVZ right there. You know, take a fast expand, make some stuff, and tie to Hydras. that is the matchup, certainly when you're starting out. How can I die to Hydras? Oh, let me count the ways. Let's see, there's 2 Hatch Hydra. There's 9733 Hatch Hydra. There's also like a 3 Hatch Hydra, I think, that's just a macro and not 973. There's 4 Hatch Hydra attack timing. There's 5 Hatch Hydra. I swear, I'm like Bubba in Forrest Gump. You know, all the different ways you could die to Hydralisks. Okay. Last game of the night. Last series of the night. Here we go. On butter. All right. In the top right on butter, we have our red Zerg. It is Bentley. And in the bottom right, our blue Protoss, Thundersteel. Yeah, I would say probably last game. The Zealot count was actually pretty good. So I have nothing to say as far as the Zealots go last game, but definitely the wall-in could have been better for sure, especially since there was no reason to not wall. And doing the wall-in would also have put the cannons behind the wall, which would have protected them more, so that would have been better. Also, the other thing is just the cannon note I made at the end of the game, right? Knowing if you're facing off against Hydra, knowing how many cannons you need to hold the attack. You need a minimum of 6 cannons, but probably more likely 8 cannons. If it's really crazy, and out of control, you might need more than 8 cannons. But generally speaking, especially since we had good macro, we had a good zealot count that game. If you have a good army size, generally speaking, like 6 to 8 cannons is good. 4 is the absolute minimum you need, and that's like for, you know, 4 is the absolute minimum you need to hold a Hydra bust. There are, you know, obviously, you know, these are just simple. These concepts that I'm talking about, they're just simple, basic concepts. That's kind of how I learn as I learn what are the concepts that I need to know for this, and this, and I focus on practicing those. So that's how I learn. But obviously, you know, this is Coach-Pupil League, right? Talk to your coach for better, more nuanced advice of how to hold Hydra busts with cannons. How many cannons do I need? When do I need them? That is something that definitely your coach will give you a much better answer than I will. I will give you the conceptual answer, but I won't give you the nuanced answer. Your coach will give you the nuanced answer. So definitely, that is definitely something to seek coaching on. So once again, we're doing another 5-hatch Hydra build. I imagine that we're gonna have okay, so we're gonna have this. I imagine we're gonna have another hatch come down here momentarily. You know, we're not starting our den yet, but we're going to. By the way, for Zerg, Zerg is kind of like Terran, where you can build hatches. Well, actually, no, I take that back. All races have this. Anyway, if you're trying to do something like a 5-hatch Hydra build, you don't have to wait for the creep to finish to build your hatch. Yeah, so again, you know, this map, this is a great map for walling because you can actually put like your pylon here and put your forge here and then your gateway right here and kill this lurker egg and have a free lane to walk down. So this is actually this is a great map to practice walling on. Because it's very, you can see how the wall will work very easily, right? Put a forward, put your pylon like maybe here, put your forge here, your gateway here, and then like your cannon here next to the pylon. So yeah, you can definitely see like how that can work. All right. But, you know, this is good. This is so we're building some zealots, and looks like we're going to push out. We kind of know where, well, I don't know if we know for sure because we haven't scouted as far as I know. But yeah, I would say definitely get Corsairs. This is the second series where we went Sairless, and it wasn't really for a good reason. So definitely need to get Corsairs for scouting to see stuff like what kind of a build I'm facing against. And now this is a 5-hatch Hydra build that's hitting much sooner. So now Zerg is literally just going to be able to rally everything down. Yeah, I think maybe this fifth hatchery was a wee bit late, but the basic, you know, I mean, the idea is there. Zerg trying to bust in here. There's one cannon. Are we adding? We're adding another cannon, so there's two. So there's three. We're gonna need at least four. At least four. So we need at least one more cannon. If we're confident with our unit composition, we don't need more than four. Not with this, especially since we have storm and stuff. Although I don't know. I take that back. We might need 6. Again, I can't give you the nuanced answer. I can give you the concept, but not the nuance. Good storm. Yeah. So this is good. So having storms here, you know, we maybe didn't need a whole lot of cannons. Maybe we just needed to get our storms on the hydras sooner. So, yeah, there's a little bit of nuance, but you want at least 4. So, we definitely had too little. Good job pulling. Yeah, you don't want the hydras to get a free snipe on the Templar. This is also good, but maybe a little bit too many probes for 2 base. With this many probes, with like 50 probes, I would hope we're going to be on 3 base shortly. So, well, 54 probes, yeah. So we have Templar Archives. So once we get Storm, the next things we need to check off in our Protoss composition is we need to get, once we get Storm, we need to get Robo. And we need to start Goons. And we need to get range. So, like Robo, and not necessarily specifically in that order, but Robo, because we're going to need observers with our army. And Goons, because once we get our Zealots and our Templar, we're going to need the Goons to round out that ground force. And the Goons are going to need to have range. So, yeah, Robo, Goons, and range are the next things that we need to round this out. That and upgrades, which they're okay. For upgrades, definitely need a second forge, and definitely want to start upgrading armor. Armor before +2 weapons. You want to get armor to +2. For sure. Yeah, so +1 attack, +1 armor, +2 armor. And that's all, that's all current standard normal Protoss stuff. Zerg is, this play is very good. I'm not commenting on the Zerg too much because they are doing Zerg things and they're doing it well. They're making hatches and making hydras and rallying the hydras down. This is and making life stressful for the Protoss player. They're doing everything they need to be doing. So I have no comments for the Zerg. This is excellent. And definitely our wall. In both these games, I would say definitely Protoss. We also need to improve the wall. That is like, if we don't that is like the first thing we need to improve on is our SimCity and our wall placement. The macro and the sequence of building stuff can kind of come as you practice, but yeah, definitely like the wall definitely needs to come first. This wall is it needs work. It because there's no reason for it not to be a normal wall. We're not doing anything crazy aggressive. We don't need to get units out easily without worrying, right? So why, I mean, yeah. Ooh, nice. So we got the Zealots. The Zealots did move down here, but then they kind of came back up in here to engage with these Hydras. If they can get on top and whittle down this Hydra count, that is going to be great. Still need a Robo and Observers because now there's Lurkers on the field. And again, Observers and ranged goons are how you clean up Lurkers. And Storm and Speed Zealots are how you clean up Hydras. So definitely need a Robo. I'm glad that we're getting it now. So we recognize that we need the Robo. So and this is why you want to kind of not build too many probes. Because ideally, this base should mine out like maybe 2 more minutes from now if you're on, if you're not on too many workers. I would say this is probably about 10 workers too many for this base count. And, you're already going to mine out fast enough as it is if you can't expand. And so why make that clock tick faster? So, yeah, just some. This is. I've lost so many games like this. It's like I can't get out. I'm mined out. And there's a million Hydras outside of my base. And there's a million hatcheries all around the map. I've lost so many games like this. Oh my god, it's brutal. Can't get out. Get me out. Yeah. Archons, by the way, are not good versus Lurkers. How many hatches does Zerg have? 2, 4, 6 hatches and 4 mining hatches. Yeah, we could just sit here and just rally stuff all day, sure. Definitely missing goons in this song. And observers. But here we go. We're going to move them out. We're going to try and get as much damage done as possible. But these Hydras are just not having it. And actually the goons are also shredding stuff up. GG. Alright. It's good. Good game. Yeah. I've played so many games as Protoss that like these concepts that I'm blurting out in the middle of the game, these are literally like stream of consciousness. I have been here so many times. It's like, oh my gosh, I can just totally see myself correcting my play right here. Anyway, good attempt. Good production out of Thundersteel. I think definitely we need observers faster, and once lurkers start coming into play, range goons and observers. Zealots are kind of good. They're kind of good against small batches of hydras, and they're good for like going and raiding a third base and trying to kill a lot of drones and stuff. But yeah, once the lurkers come out, they're gonna this army composition is basically Zealot Archon. And now that I think about it, is this a StarCraft 2 player trying to play Brood War? Because I know Zealot Archon in StarCraft 2 is great. It's great. Certainly a lot better than it is in this matchup. Yeah, once the goons, once the lurkers start coming into play, Zealots are going to get shredded, and Archons are also going to get shredded because they're close range. So you definitely need the observers and the ranged goons to clear out the lurkers. So that's I would say that concept, more faster observers and more observer range goon versus lurker, and wall. Probably the two big concepts this whole series that I could see the Protoss improving with. Zerg, I can't say where the Zerg improved because I'm not a Zerg main and I don't know all the perfect nuances. I'm sure they could have attacked sooner and pulled the trigger sooner, but conceptually, Zerg looks pretty good to me. My experience as a Protoss player playing against Zerg is doing just fine. They're rallying hydras, they're containing with lurkers, and they're having impossible number of hydras on the map, and they are constantly making life stressful for the Protoss player. That Zerg is doing conceptually, Zerg is there. The nuance I don't know, but the concept is definitely there. So yeah, very, very good job to Bentley, who 2-0'd the series. Just by the look of it, this was just good execution in terms of making hydras and rallying them over and keeping the Protoss busy. So good execution with Bentley, excellent. And Thundersteel, honestly, those fixes are pretty small. Once you start factoring in like macro and stuff, those fixes are pretty doable. All right, and with that, I am done for the night. So thank you all for tuning in. I don't think I have quite the good sustainable viewer count that I need to really raid somebody. So we're just going to call it a night tonight. So thank y'all for watching. We got another tier 3 tomorrow night at 1 a.m. Central European time and 7 p.m. my time, which is Eastern time, U.S. Eastern. So yes, we have more tier 3 tomorrow night. We also have next week we have the CPL King of the Tiers King of the Tiers tournament, which is it's a postseason tournament, and so yeah, if you're in CPL and you're active, sign up for that. It's in the announcements channel. Make a challenge account, sign up for that. because that's going to be fun. All right. Really looking forward to that. Thank you all for tuning in. Crimson Joe, Shimmer, Mini Renak, Champion, once again, thank you for stopping by and chatting and saying hello. We'll see y'all again tomorrow night. All right. Have a good one.